Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Best Books Ever. I am Tyler, and today we are starting not only a brand new book, but a brand new series for us on here. We did just finish the King Killer Chronicle. We read the two books that exist, as well as the two novellas. So if you wanna go read those, you can go check that out. But today we are starting the Hunger Games series, book one, which is also titled The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. We're doing chapters 1 through 14, about the first half. Um, yeah, this is a good one. Obviously read this before, read it a while ago, back when I was in like 6th grade, I believe. And I remember really liking it then. Haven't read it since. The only exposure I've had to the story is the movies that came out at some point. I don't know when. Um, did the movies come out? Honestly, the movies might have come out. I've I've done similar things like this before, where like my timing was just very like weirdly coincidental with stuff. I think I might have started the Hunger Games, and then like a few months later, I could be completely wrong. I'm not even gonna say it, but in my mind, the movie, like the first movie, came out like really soon after I started reading it. Is that true, or am I just making that up? That's happened to me before, where like I've read something or I watched something, and then something else of that, like even though it's been years, has like come out about. I don't know. But anyway, I remember watching it. It was great. Movies not as good. That was probably the first time I would ever call myself part of that. Like books better than the movies club. Um, Not bad, but I don't remember it being as good. But we're gonna get through all that, all the actual real book story, because um, we're gonna start right where we end, as always. This actually does end in a pretty interesting spot. We have some confirmation of what we were hoping was true the entire time, which was Peeta goes and helps Katniss after the whole tracker jacker thing. Um, we were unsure up to that point because pretty much this whole time you have a feeling that Peeta is thinking about the games in a much more strategical way. Like even the little things he does that could very much just be Katniss's paranoia over everything. Even if he wasn't doing some of those little things on purpose, I think even some of the bigger things, some of the more noticeable things, were on purpose, and they were him trying to understand a certain aspect to what his role is in these games. And even though he said I never had a chance, like I do think he's putting a lot of thought into it, rather than Katniss, who it seems that she's just completely overwhelmed by everything, and she's so overwhelmed that it has turned her completely off from the games. Not that she has no right to feel that way. I'm sure the majority of people in the majority of the districts hate the Hunger Games, and I mean that is the point, right? That's the whole point of why the Capitol has them, is to be like, we control you, and this is just another way for us to show it. Um, Even though I'm sure it is overwhelming Peeta as well, I just think he's able to kind of steel himself through it versus Katniss, who, we've already kind of seen many examples of this, which we'll obviously get to. Um, but yeah, and then so that was kind of at least my thought process for most of it, and then we have the moment where Katniss sees Peeta with the career tributes, and then you're like, oh no, betrayal. Like I remember after she sees it, chapter ends, new chapter begins. First word of the first chapter is betrayal, and it's tough. Again, it's hard for me because I don't know if I was just using like future knowledge of the books to sort of make an opinion on what Katniss's opinion was right there. But even in that moment, I'm like, I don't know, like if it feels weird for him to betray her like that, and like it doesn't feel like he really is, like even with when he goes to leave for a second, and the careers talk about him, and it definitely feels like there's the energy of like, we don't need him, we can kill him. Like, yeah, he's cool with a knife, I guess, but we don't really need him. the reason they want him by their side is because he can most likely get them to Katniss, and Katniss is this like unknown, right? Uh, I guess everyone is technically, but Katniss is on most people's, if not everybody's, radar because she got an 11. That is the highest score of everyone. And again, those ratings, they said they don't really mean a whole lot, but um, either way, it's big, especially for someone who's not in one of the main districts, 1, 2, or 4, which I find it weird. Again, that's something I don't remember. I don't even know if it's a thing. It's very weird that the like career districts are 1, 2, and 4. Why not 3? What's going on with 3? Because it would make sense that they're all like the higher ones and the lower ones, like 10, 11, 12, are kind of in the slums, right? But it's weird that they left out 3. I wonder if we'll get any sort of explanation on that, because it seems like they're kind of ostracized from being like one of the top districts. But yeah, and then even in that moment, we're sort of thinking like, did Peeta actually betray her? Is this a long con? Because it definitely sounds like they're using him to get to her. So maybe his strategy is like get close to them, show some usefulness so they won't kill me, but also show some subservience. That way they don't suspect me of like killing them in their sleep or something. And that way I can kind of ride their coattails for most of it and at some point kill them. That would be a very smart and very sneaky thing to do. Very dangerous, though. Although I guess anything you do in the games is dangerous. But then again, it moves on to this moment where it's like, he saved her. He didn't have to. He could have killed her because clearly he had at least a little bit more of his faculties than Katniss did. So yeah, that was big. And then it sort of ends with her going crazy, losing her mind, and she's like, the ants went in my eyes or something. And she did all that with the bow, though. It does sound like she got the bow, so kind of pushing everything else aside. That's big. We're halfway through the book. She finally has a bow and arrow. Again, close quarters combat, kind of like what I think Haymitch mentioned a little bit, maybe what she mentioned when she was arguing with Peeta. Probably not the best. I mean, I'm sure if you get whacked with a bow, and I think that's a good one too. I think it's made of metal, so essentially it's like a metal rod. Probably won't feel good. But her just sniping people, which again, not the easiest thing, I'm sure, but like, I'm sure she feels 100% more confident in her just like surviving ability now that she has her weapon of choice. Really, the only weapon she's good with. So that's great. I'm love to see it. I would be shocked if we don't see at least one person get killed by a bow and arrow. It'd be crazy for us to have her have the bow and not kill somebody. But another big difference, even with that moment when she finds out that Peeta is with the careers, another small thing which I don't think is touched on too heavily, but I think is impactful, is that Peeta does kill somebody, right? He thought to kill him, he goes back, kills the girl, and then the cannon blasts. And it's like, oh, Peeta just murdered somebody. And again, at the end of the day, I think everyone would if they had to, right? If it's a mirror you situation, all 24 of them would kill. Like, it's, at that point, it's just your like instinct as a living being. But then you move to Katniss, it's like, could she, she was even thinking before the games of like, well, just think of them all as like animals. Then it becomes 100 times easier because they're not humans and you don't feel a connection with them in the same sense. So we'll see. Maybe it gets to a point where we never see her kill someone with a bow because she just can't bring herself to do it. We'll see, though. We'll see. What else? I feel like I went through a couple different things there. Another thing in the games, another big moment was when she realized that Haymitch must have sent her some medicine for like her burns. I really liked her thought process before that happened, when she was tied up in the tree, before the fire stuff happened, and she was looking for water. She was wishing that Haymitch would send her water. She was like, there's no way that we don't have at least one, or I don't have at least one sponsor. Give me some water. It is dire, right? And so she went through this whole like argument with herself, and there was a part of her at the end where she realized Haymitch isn't trying to kill me. Like, he doesn't actually hate me. He could give me water, or at least this is what she thinks. He could give me water, but he's not going to. And what is the one reason why he wouldn't give me water? I must be close. And so that sort of like gives her more motivation to get out of the tree, go get some water. It ends with her being on a low again because she's like, I was wrong. He is trying to kill me. So her like perception of Haymitch goes back and forth a lot. Obviously, it stems all the way back from the beginning where she gets picked, or she volunteers, and Haymitch is just a mess, right? Obviously, that's their big argument when he was coaching her. But he does come through here. He gets her some medicine, helps her hands, helps her leg, I think her calf. So yeah, I think it's also a nice moment just for like setting the tone for how that stuff happens. She didn't even realize that. What it sounds like is that it has like a parachute, right? So it must fall. So one of the ships, one of those like hover ships or whatever, must go around and dropping them. Kind of convenient, I would say, because how fast did they fall? Like, what's stopping someone from spotting one? And you know, um, that's cool. Haymitch is there to help. We have confirmation. What else do we have? I think that's pretty much everything for like the games itself. Nothing big has really happened yet. We just kind of been going through a lot of stuff. Like big general killings have happened. Like I think half the people have already died. I'm sure through the second part is when we'll get more like solo interactions because you have to. There's less people, so all of it means a lot more. Okay. Sorry, hold on. 15 seconds, everybody. Okay. I am back. Had to deal with my cat. Okay, so yeah, pretty much all the stuff with the games. I would imagine that the second half is, like I said, we're gonna get more intimate encounters because there's not as many people left. So each one matters more. Each one is more important. Because obviously if one person out of 24 dies, it's you know just like numbers wise. And so we have to make some hard decisions again with Katniss and Peeta, you know. Now we just have a bunch of other stuff though that happened in the book because the majority of this book has not been in the games arena itself. So I guess now I'll probably maybe just go chronologically. I love how this gets set up, and Prim getting picked is insane, right? She had one slip, one entry out of thousands. Her getting picked is insane. Katniss volunteering was inevitable, right? She wouldn't allow. She's even like, don't take any what is like rations or whatever, because then you get more entries. And she's like, don't do it. I'm gonna do that, you know. Katniss volunteering, and my favorite part about this is like obviously Katniss volunteering, being her big sister and all that, very touching. But I think something that is a spark is she doesn't get picked. She volunteers. She goes up, and I think Effie is the one, right? And she like congratulates it. Oh, I would have bet that was your little sister, huh? And there's like supposed to be applause or whatever, and nobody claps. Not even a single clap. which is strange because this happens every year, and every year we get some sort of fanfare, right? Because you're supposed to. Again, this is all a game, but it's a game that masks a message from the Capitol, and so you're supposed to play along. I mean, even it being a holiday is like, it is a slap in the face because it's a holiday for the Capitol, not for everyone else, and especially not the lower, poorer districts. So everyone being silent, and then not only being silent, throwing up the, apparently there's like, some like ancient like hand symbol that they throw up, and I think it's just for District 12, and I forget exactly what it means, but it's just like togetherness or something like that. That is so eerie to me and so telling of like everyone's thoughts on this. Like, again, this happens every year, but this year feels different for their tributes. 12-year-old girl getting picked, her big sister volunteering because she has to, right? It just kind of puts everything, like all the stars align to make a moment where the entire district for once is unified. And they're all, again, just a little bit of rebellion of like, no, this is wrong. Everyone already kind of thinks this, but you're not allowed to say it out loud. But yeah, I just, and then especially like the whole like hand symbol thing is like, I love it because it seems like that matches so well with how Katniss feels, right? Like we just talked moments ago um, about how Katniss has reacted, at least outwardly, different than Peeta has, where she's just like, I'm done with it. I hate all this stuff. Everyone in the Capitol should die. Um, so again, it matches it, personality, all this stuff. So um, great way to sort of open this up for us to get a full, clear picture as to what these games are and what they mean to everyone, in both the positive and negative ways. Then we have Katniss in the games, I guess in the whole rigmarole before the games. We have her being the girl on fire. And again, they're doing a great job. This is something that I realized, obviously past this moment, but I realized it later on where they are. Katniss doesn't feel like there's anything special about her, right? She's very down on herself. When she was back in District 12, she did everything she could, and she was proud of that, right? Like she has the ability to provide for her family, right? But in the game, she's just like, I'm not really like, if I have a bow, I can maybe kill some people, but there's not. I mean, again, I'm from District 12. Like one of the careers is gonna win. They always do. And so, while she's down on herself in those sort of ways, I feel like everyone else around her is sort of molding her to be who she needs to be to hopefully win the games, right? Like, we can just take off any sort of delusion that we have as a reader. Candace is the main character, and this is a trilogy. You know what I mean? Like, again, I'm not trying to spoil anything. It's just like, it would be a wild move, and maybe it does, maybe it happens. Again, this is like a weird, like, young adult dystopian sort of series, and anything could happen, right? Especially with that sort of setting and pretense. But like, it's the main character. Very, very few stories kill off their main character in the first book. You know what I mean? So, but that's not me saying that she's gonna win. I don't want anyone to sort of read between the lines and be like, oh, he read the book before, so she wins. Maybe something else happens. Again, main character. We are jumping into this games specifically. All I'm saying is I don't want anyone to read too far into my words. It's just that I just want to say that I think everyone around her is doing a great job. Haymitch, and even though it feels like he's not very helpful, there are things that she is learning from him. Peeta playing his part and what he's doing and the angle that he's taking, which helps him, but I think it sort of helps Katniss a little more. Effie, and very similar to Haymitch of like what she's doing, Cinna, and what he's doing with the dress, which we were talking about, the girl who's on fire, like for him to have that idea and make them shine, literally and figuratively, for her to stand out, District 12 to be the ones that everyone has their eyes on, never happens. By the time you get to District 12, you're like, cannon fodder. We don't need them, right? So yeah, I just wanted to point that out of like, shout out to Cinna, and I guess I'll talk more about Cinna right now, but yeah, with everyone kind of molding her to be who she needs to be to win these games. Will it work? Hard to say. We won't find out till next week of what actually happens in these Hunger Games. But talk more about Cinna. Cinna, I think, is my favorite character. I just love him. He's great. Obviously, him having this idea is awesome. Him, again, making a moment for Katniss for District 12. Him even saying, this is my first games, and Katniss wondering, oh, you probably got stuck with District 12. And he's like, no, I requested District 12. It's like, there are, again, I already said this phrase, but I'm going to say it again. Like, the stars aligning for there to be something monumental happening in this games is crazy. But yeah, just, more on Cinna aside from the initial dress. We obviously have the other dress that he made for the interview, which was awesome. But I love his little interactions with Katniss because he seems real. Like, even from the first moment that she met him, and she kind of went through all the other people, even the other stylists and stuff. It's like, oh, these are very typical. At least from like face value, they're very typical capital people. Like, oh, they're got all the colors, they're very loud, they're very opinionated, blah blah blah. Even though they're all very nice, which is something I love about them, and like Effie, even where on paper I think what they say is ludicrous and sometimes even maybe insulting to Katniss or District 12 or whatever, but they're all so genuine that I don't think they're making insults. I think they just truly mean what they say, and they mean it sincerely. But then again, with that first moment where you meet Cinna, he walks in and he's not wearing all these crazy colors and crazy like contraptions and makeup and whatever. Like, I think he's in like an all black suit. And I think the only thing that makes him stand out is like a tiny bit of like gold eyeliner or something. But like even his hair is like super cut short. And it's like, there's something different about him. Like, he dresses like that, looks like that. He requested 12. What he's doing with Katniss's wardrobe, like, he has some sort of master plan. Or maybe, like Katniss said, he's just a madman. And he just doesn't play, he doesn't want to play by the rules. But yeah, again, with like his little interactions, like, he seems to be there for Katniss. Even when she's having her big argument after she pushed Peeta, like, no one's really getting through to her, and then Cinna comes over and kind of grabs her by the shoulders, and is like, they are right, and then that kind of calms her down a little bit. He's the last one that she talks to before she enters the arena. Lets her eat, lets her have her time, and then asks if she wants to talk, like, make sure that she has the pin that is a symbol that the mayor's daughter gave her, but it's also a symbol for District 12, like all these little things, and it's like, Cinna's the best. Cinna's there, so I hope we see more of Cinna. Although I guess Cinna works for the games, so that would mean that, well, no, I assume that once the games are over, like, we don't see him again. I don't know. I wonder what people who work on the games, like, do they work, like, is this like an all year event? I mean, for the stylists, like, do they need a whole year to do that? I wonder what they do. I mean, I assume they just work like at other stylist companies or something, right? And they get plucked for the games once a year. I don't know. We'll see. Another thing I wanted to mention was the redheaded girl. We never caught her name, right? the Avon, right? Was it Avon that they were called? Um, I just liked that character because we know that she was the one who got captured. Seemingly, she was trying to escape her district. Not sure where she was going. She's trying to escape to another district, I suppose. But yeah, she got turned into an Avon, got her tongue cut out, and now she's like a forever servant. Um, I do like her little interactions with Katniss though, because she doesn't seem angry at Katniss. It does seem like she remembers who Katniss is. It does seem like she's angry though. It almost seems like she's trying to like comfort her and trying to be there for her. So I just like her character. I wonder if we'll see her again. Um, and yeah, if there is anything more to her character, um, but that was cool. Even in that moment of where she was really down, and her room was a mess, and she was eating like cake and stuff, and for the girl to be the one to come in and just kind of do her job, and for that to kind of anchor Katniss back to reality, I think that was nice. Another character that I like a lot is Rue. Rue was fun. She's seemingly the youngest one in the games right now. She is 12, and that's the youngest you can be. Very, very small. Stands out a lot against her District 11 counterpart, who is Thresh, who is a Hulk of a man. But yeah, she was. I thought she was cool. She was the one. She was like shadowing them, Katniss and Peeta, a bunch. So I wonder what that was about. If it was just strategy, or if she taken some sort of likeness to them, which is weird because they never talked. But I guess maybe she just saw what what was shown on TV or whatever about them and their relationship or their interview or whatever. So maybe that, and then also we do see her in the games. She's hiding in a tree. Doesn't try to kill Katniss, which is nice. Although I don't know if I can give her props for that, because I suppose Katniss is not the biggest threat in that situation. We did have all the career tributes sleeping down below. But it was cool to have an interaction with another tribute that was not immediate violence and altercation. And she did even warn Katniss about the tracker jackets. Tracker jackets? I don't know. Above her. So, and then Katniss tried to return the favor and say, try to mime her like, "Hey, I'm gonna drop these. You might wanna get away." So that was nice. Again, at the end of the day, I don't think there are any friends in the games, because only one person can win. But I mean, hey, alliances exist, right? We obviously have the alliance with the careers down there, so maybe not a terrible idea to have a couple of temporary friends in the games, and especially some of the lower districts, to try to take out the much more experienced. Even though you're not supposed to train people, before they turn 12, these guys are experienced, so it might not be a bad idea. Hope we see more of Rue. Okay, I already talked about Katniss. Katniss finding Cinna for reassurance. Oh no, I guess that note specifically I made during her interview, which was cool. Because Cinna knew that Katniss was very, very nervous and didn't really have a plan going into it. That was their argument with Haymitch. But then Cinna being like, "Hey, just talk to them like you would talk to a friend." And then, she's like, I'll talk to Gale, but Gale already knows things about me. So look at me. Can you consider me as a friend? If so, look for me and tell me these things. And it's like, awesome. And then the last note I have is Peeta confessing his love for Katniss. Katniss. Did I get that right? I'll have to look it up in a second. Peeta confessing his love for Katniss. That was obviously huge because, again, like we mentioned before, it seems like Peeta has been thinking about these games in a way that Katniss has not been. And aside from that, it seems that that was the reasoning for Peeta wanting to train separately, because I think from that point on, sorry, I'm losing my mind here. That's what I want. Because it seems that from sort of the beginning, Haymitch was sort of pairing them up, and you remember that specifically because it's such a weird thing to do. Like Katniss even thinks about it a bunch, where she's like, "It's weird that you're kind of marketing us as a pair when the Hunger Games are only one winner. Like, yeah, two people from your district go in, and you might even know the other person from your district, but only one of us can win. So it's like, why are you like? None of the other districts are doing this. Like, why do you put it together so much?" And I don't know if this was necessarily Haymitch's plan the whole time, but I definitely think that that's what Peeta sort of stumbled into, um, or just kind of latched onto. It was like, let's make us a couple. And again, a lot of what he's doing benefits him, but I think a lot of what he's doing is specifically benefiting Katniss too. With the confession, we already know, right? Like it helps her like ability, blah blah, blah, right? We know that. I am curious to see if how much of this is strategy. I think that's where a lot of Katniss's paranoia is valid. It's like I don't really know Peeta though, and most of our relationship has been veiled in this, um, this like fake friendship. So it's like the pretense is a lie. So like how much of our conversations we have with each other are real? Like how much of what he said has been genuine? Because it's not really his fault. It's just from the jump we were told to be together, to interact, to look like you're having a good time, all that stuff. So what he's saying is what he's supposed to say, but is any of it actually what he wants to say? And then it goes to again this moment where he confesses live, and it's like, oh, is that real? Like, does he actually like her, or does he not? Like, it's so strange. It's so hard for Katniss too, because she has to sort of take these feelings in and be like, what do I do? What do I do with this? You know. Um, but yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Um, we will see. We will see. Let me know what you thought of these first 14 chapters, the first half of the book. We're obviously going to read the second half of the book next week, which is chapters 15 through 17. Yeah. Hopefully get to, well, we have to, right? We'll get to the end of the game, see who wins, you know? Yeah, it's going to be so hard too, because, me kind of trying to look forward to the games. It's like, you imagine Katniss is going to win, right? Um, Again, me just kind of trying to think in the mind of someone who's reading this the first time. Katniss has to win. She has to. There's 2 more books. Well, 3 more, but one of them's a prequel, so we don't count that in the timeline for this. Katniss has to win. Unless something happens with the games, like it gets called off or something. Like in the middle of it. I don't know what would cause that. Like we haven't really seen any like foreshadowing of like there's something different about this games, so I don't. But even if she does win, it's like, dang, that means Peeta dies, which is crazy. Doesn't mean that she kills him. Someone else could kill him along the way. But Peeta dying, I think, as much as she would hate to admit it initially, I think she would be very upset. And even Rue, like finding out Rue dies has got to hurt her because she sees so much of Prim in Rue. Like that could have been Prim. Like it was going to be Prim, until she volunteered. So seeing those deaths is going to be hard. Although on the opposite side of it, I am excited to see her kill some people because I just think it'd be neat to see a bow kill, kind of see how that happens. But but also for like her character as well, because it doesn't seem like she really wants to kill anybody. even though she's like, oh, what if I just think of them like animals? It's like, I think if she kills someone, it is going to hurt. I mean, probably physically, because she'd probably get into a fight, but I think it's gonna be tough for her. I think it's very much going to affect her. So I'm excited to see that. Excited to see any other gifts that they get, because again, this is the only time we're seeing this, so I don't know how many gifts people generally get. I'm wondering what else they could get, maybe. Yeah, what else could there be in this book? I mean, it's the games, right? So, excited to see what else the game masters, game makers, what they throw at them, because we've already seen them throw this wall of fire and these like fire cannons at them. So clearly anything could happen. They are God in this Hunger Games arena. So cool to see what else they throw. Yeah, guess that's it. Yeah, let me know any sort of predictions you got for the second half of this book. And yeah, until next time, read the other chapters, and we'll see who wins the Hunger Games.